and go.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Kellen with the Perry Rotary Club, and when HMSA asked me if I would be one of the district Polio Plus advocates for 2021, I was really excited about the opportunity, and I started thinking long and hard about what that meant and how I could present something to the clubs and the district that was inspiring and would encourage members to support Rotary's efforts in eradicating polio. Polio Plus and the End Polio campaign have been near and dear to my heart since becoming a Rotarian. I think most Rotarians probably feel that way. It's a special project that we all have undertaken, and it's exciting to know that we are indeed this close. With the most recent announcement that Nigeria now is polio free, and there are only two countries remaining, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Polio Plus began, just a little history here, began in 1985. That was 35 years ago. And it actually started as a Rotary service project in 1979 to administer vaccines in the Philippines. And it was so successful that Rotary International launched Polio Plus. In 1988, Rotary International became the founding member of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. And that's when world governments, CDC, WHO, UNICEF, and eventually the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation joined in our efforts. And it's really a testament to Rotary's reach and our ability to cross borders and really encourage participation in such a large global project. Well, in 1985, I personally was just graduating from high school. So I wasn't there in the beginning. And many of you I know were, and started this push to eradicate polio from the world. And how amazing and fortunate you've been to see the progress from day one. I didn't donate to Polio Plus or to the foundation until I joined Rotary in 2008, but I still do get credit for those 23 years I missed. I get credit because I'm a Rotarian, and you get credit too. I mean, even if you have never donated to Polio Plus, you'll get credit. So since you're already getting credit, think about what you can do now to participate. Your donations to Polio Plus are absolutely necessary for us to finish this project. And we can't really talk about Polio Plus separately without talking about the Rotary Foundation. I have traveled to India to administer the polio drops, and it is a life-changing experience. I've also traveled with a vocational training team to Myanmar, and that was life-changing as well. So what's so life-changing about it? International travel, yeah, that's exciting, visiting other countries, but that's really not it. The life-changing part is holding that little boy or that little girl on your lap, squeezing their little cheeks and putting in those 2 drops in their mouth, or carrying a young child out of surgery who has just had their cleft lip and their palate repaired and placing them in their mother's arms. And, this family can now return to their village and not be shunned in their community. And this child can now eat normally. And that was so critical for that project, something that we all take for granted. Same with polio. And we take that for granted now in the United States. So to see their tears of gratitude, it's something that I will never forget. The life-changing moments as a Rotarian are also when, villagers and community leaders who see you with your Rotary hat or your t-shirt or your pin, and they almost treat you as a dignitary because they know that when they see that Rotary symbol, that you are there to help. And that is life-changing, not only as a person, but as a Rotarian, because I didn't raise those funds personally, but I'm the one getting thanked. Those projects cost thousands of dollars. I am a Paul Harris Society member, which means that I donate at least $1,000 a year to the Rotary Foundation, but my $1,000, my $2.74 a day couldn't even start to fund the cost of the multiple projects that are going on around the world. So where does that money come from? Well, I'd like to think that we're just one big Rotary International club. And, someone stands up. Nowadays, maybe we're the huge virtual Rotary Club. But I'm sure this has happened in your club. It happens in ours occasionally. But someone stands up and says, I've got this great service project and I need you all to pitch in. Someone needs our help. And maybe they grab the nearest container, which in our club tends to be the quart bucket. It's a multi-use bucket. And it gets passed around because the need is immediate. Pretty soon you have $200, $300, $400, sometimes $500, maybe to help your GRSP student with some unforeseen expenses, or a Rotarian with some extra medical bills. And we don't question where the money is going because we know if a Rotarian in our club is standing up and asking for money, there's usually a good reason. Well, the Rotary Foundation is really just one big bucket that we're all pitching in for water projects and schools and better health care and literacy projects. It's where Rotarians from around the world have put in their dollars, their pounds and rupees and yens and euros and pesos to support those Rotarians who have a great idea for a service project. And with everyone contributing, we can do these big life-changing projects. The mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. I like to highlight peace, world peace. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? During this time of pandemic and unknown disease and sickness, horrible storms and fires damaging, just our country alone, imagine what's happening in the third world countries, job loss, contaminated water, political and racial turmoil like many of us have never seen in our lifetimes. Do you think it's too much to ask to have peace throughout the world? It's a huge undertaking, but Rotary has it figured out. But it's not a quick process. It's a step-by-step, inch by inch. Rotary, though, is getting it done. I'd like you to look at this graphic and how the 6 areas of focus are placed on this pyramid. I couldn't find a new graphic that is showing the 7th area of focus, which is protecting the environment. But we can just put that in the middle there somewhere. But I love this graphic. It's Rotary's road to peace, starting with the most basic needs. When there is clean water and sanitation, clean air in our environment, when there is health for children and mothers, when there's education, people are able to grow and develop their own communities. So what's the result? Less strife and conflict, less fighting for resources, more self-sufficiency, and the ultimate there at the top of the pyramid, more peace. That's the goal of Rotary. So how in the world do we plan on doing that? Well, we're kind of already doing it. So see where we're spending our money in this second graph. Most is being spent on those lower, pyramid items. Look at the top, preventing disease. Most of our money is preventing disease, and I think a lot of that is the Polio Plus campaign. And then the second is providing clean water. So you can see most is being spent and less is being spent on promoting peace, but all of those that we're spending all that money on is working towards promoting peace. All right, so I don't think that Paul Harris and his friends initially thought that, that they were going to solve world peace. In 1905, the idea was we're going to get together as business professionals, exchange ideas, form friendships, and probably have some fun too. There were some local service projects, but in 1917, that changed. The Rotary Foundation was established. And if you recall what was happening during that time, we were in the third year of World War I. World War I was 1914 to 1918, and there were a lot of people all over the world in need of service. Wouldn't you have loved to have been at that international conference in Atlanta, June of 1917? I mean, that was just a few months earlier. Just a few months earlier, I should say, April of 1917 is when the U.S. entered World War I. So imagine how everyone was feeling at that conference. Maybe kind of much like what we're feeling right now. I mean, scared about what's happening in our country and around the world. Rotary International President Art Klump stood up and he proposed setting up the Rotary Foundation, an endowment for the purpose of doing good in the world. It kind of gives you chills. I mean, it gives me chills. Imagine how all those Rotarians were feeling. I mean, are we going to be able to do this? It was the Kansas City Club who put in their remaining funds for the conference, $26.50. They put their money in the bucket, and the decision was made. If Rotary is really going to help and make a difference around the world, we need every Rotarian involved. And the donations did start coming in. I mean, can you imagine? Rotary had only been in existence for 12 years. I mean, that was quite the bold statement by Rotary. We're not just going to have a few service projects around Chicago and other US cities. We are going to make a change in the world. Think about technology and transportation back then and how lofty that goal was. The foundation grew rapidly in 1947 after Paul Harris died. And then in 1957, that's when the idea of the Paul Harris Fellow was initiated. It was still $1,000 to become a Paul Harris Fellow. In today's dollars with inflation, that would be over $9,000. So when you think of our Rotary forefathers, it's impressive. I mean, and I feel so honored and grateful to get to grab that torch from those Rotarians who've gotten us so far. We've done so much, but we still have so much to do. Over the past 100 years, the Rotary Foundation has given out over $4 billion for projects all over the world. And we now currently have about $1 billion in our Rotary bucket, the Rotary Foundation. So what projects are happening now in our district, and how can you and your club participate? Well, number one, you can participate in one of the ongoing district projects. There are several. I mean, this is the easiest way. Another club has taken the lead. They've done the global and the district grant paperwork, and your club can now help by just adding in donations. Easy, right? Number two, your club can initiate and develop a project through district designated funds or global grants, and this can be a local or an international project. Third, you can donate to the foundation, put your money in the bucket, become a Paul Harris Fellow, belong to the Paul Harris Society, encourage your club to become a Paul Harris Fellow Club. The foundation has several awards and pins to celebrate those contributions, and it's fun to get those honors. Fourth, you can donate to Polio Plus, and this also is a donation to the foundation, but it's specific to the End Polio campaign. And your donation is matched by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 2-to-1. So you put $100 in, it turns into $300. You do get foundation points, so it does count towards your Paul Harris Fellow, but a portion of the money does not come back to your club, like when you donate directly to the foundation. But it's still extremely important that we donate to the Polio Plus. And I'd like to encourage clubs to do a specific fundraiser for Polio Plus. And there is a great one coming up, World Polio Day, which is October 24th. This is a great opportunity to celebrate where we have gotten in terms of eradicating polio, and really encourage that push to the finish. And there are so many ideas out there. First and foremost, Rotary International is doing a webcam at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This is a Saturday. The 24th is a Saturday, and it's a great time to watch that at 10 o'clock and then do something fun as a club. Some different clubs are doing Pints for Polio, which is where you raise a pint and celebrate. Have them join a polio-free future. Purple Pinky Day. People donate and have their pinky dyed, and that represents immunization. If anybody's ever done the National Immunization Day, they paint the children's fingers, their pinkies, purple to know that they've been immunized. So it's kind of a fun way to celebrate World Polio Day. Skip a meal. This was a great idea. So donate the cost of the meal that you would normally have at your Rotary meetings, and donate that to Polio Plus. Host a World Barbecue, World Polio Day barbecue. Have people dress, have your members dress up in purple and pass the purple hat. There's pins for polio, a bowling competition. You can get creative and just find different ideas and share those on Facebook and on the district page. So I just wanted to give you a few facts about polio. Polio does continue to paralyze children. We don't see it in the U.S., but it still exists in many places, affecting mostly children under 5 years. 1 in 200 infections leads to irreversible paralysis. And among those, 5 to 10% actually die because their breathing muscles become immobilized. How horrible would that be? We are 99% of the way to eradicating polio. And like I said before, we only have 2 countries that are still endemic. We're 99% of the way there. The 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. And the reason why it's important, because polio can spread from these countries to infect children in other countries with less than adequate vaccinations. That's why they still continue to have these national immunization days in India, because that country is so close. Unlike most diseases, polio can be completely eradicated. I mean, that is exciting. There are 3 strains of wild polio virus, and none of them can survive outside the human body. So if a virus cannot find an unvaccinated person, it will die out. Vaccines are cheap and effective, as little as 14 US cents. The global effort to eradicate polio is the largest public-private partnership for public health. Large-scale vaccination can rapidly boost immunity. Every child must be vaccinated to eradicate polio. We talked about that. If the virus can't find an unvaccinated person, then it dies. Polio-funded staff, strategies, and resources are also used to advance other health initiatives, such as routine immunizations. And many of you have probably seen some of the articles about how the COVID vaccination, they want to use what we already have in place to administer the COVID vaccination. So that's kind of cool. All of the infrastructure that Rotary and these organizations already have in place can be used for another worldwide immunization. We can eradicate polio. Polio cases are down 99%, and we really are this close. Lastly on there, this is the September 30th update, and you can see where we are from 2019 to 2020. We are up a little bit in Afghanistan, but significantly lower in Pakistan. I just wanted to end with this story, and it sort of wraps it all up in this one story. I attended a Rotary training session some years back, And the speaker talked about visiting a community in Africa. His Rotary district, I believe it was Germany, had helped facilitate a new school and teacher for this community. And it was going to be the first for this rural area, just a small school, and not every child was going to be able to attend. So the community held a lottery to see which child would get to attend the school. Well, the speaker, this Rotarian, talked about this one particular family that he got to know, and there were two children in the family, a boy and a girl. And both were so excited to hear if they were going to get picked to attend this school. And the boy ended up being selected, and his sister was not. But there was a major obstacle for this boy. He had polio, and he would have to walk several miles to school. And as many of you know about polio, it can be very debilitating, difficult walking, braces, crutches, potentially even a wheelchair. And his parents had to work, and they were not going to be able to get him there. And it really looked like he was going to lose this opportunity. But his sister, who did not get selected, knew how important this education would mean for her brother and his ability to function in life. So she helped him get to school every day and waited outside for him every day while he finished so that she could help him home. This Rotarian told about how touched he was by this family story, and he went back to his district to work hard to raise the funds to make it possible for every child in that community to attend. This story touched me so much, and it made me really think about the reach of one person's service. This Rotarian, who cared and took the initiative, went back to his district to raise the funds. Rotarians who contributed to the foundation so that this project was possible. Many Rotarians, I'm sure, who didn't even know where their money would eventually go. I mean, wouldn't you have given money to this cause if this Rotarian had come and asked? Of course you would have. So look at this one situation and what Rotary did to change the lives of that one community and that one family, that one child. And really, I mean, what it ultimately did for me as a Rotarian, I mean, maybe you too, now that you've heard this story, what is the overall impact of a service project? What's the overall impact of our donations to the foundation and Polio Plus? I've seen some of that impact in my Rotary travels. We're changing lives. I mean, it's difficult to measure how far that kindness and those dollars or yen or euros or pesos are eventually going to spread. Because, I mean, whenever you personally are touched by service, don't you feel the need to pass it on? And then that person feels the need to do good, and on and on. I mean, generally people want to do more in their own community and even reach out to other communities. I've had people come up to me, see my Rotary pen or my hat, know that I'm a Rotarian, and thank me for eradicating polio in the U.S. and for what Rotary is doing around the world. I did not eradicate polio, but I say thank you and you're welcome, because I am a Rotarian and I did actually help because I put some money in the bucket. So see the potential for goodwill to spread and how that could eventually lead to a more peaceful world. That is what Art Klump and all those Rotarians were envisioning at that 1917 convention during World War I. That's what we were envisioning. Those Rotarians have passed on, and many others since then. We are the ones now moving this big worldwide project forward, and we still have the same goal. We are not there yet. With all of us participating, all of us putting our money in the bucket, we can get there. So thank you for participating in this presentation, and I hope you guys are encouraged about donating to the foundation and planning something for World Polio Day.